On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, I talk with Howard Headden from Perry Ellis International. We talk about the history of the industry, trends in the industry, and where he finds motivation. Well, hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today is a guy I've wanted to have on here for a long time. He's the National Account Manager for Perry Ellis International, or PEI. Howard Headden, thanks so much for taking the time.
Kirby, I'm really excited to be part of it, too. I've followed your career and your podcast for a while and really appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in doing my stalking, I always try to do a little research. I noticed that you've been around the promo industry for, quite some time, especially, the apparel side. So I'm curious, what are some of the biggest and maybe most exciting changes you've sort of seen over the years?
I'm glad you referenced that. As I mentioned to you earlier, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of this industry over the last 4 years. I'm starting to play the old man card because I turned 60 last May, and I like to tell the kids now that I actually found my job in a newspaper ad, which they look like, wow, a newspaper ad. Yeah. So I started, by looking at an industry that was looking for somebody. It was Gillette Papermate. It was called GPA Associates, and they were looking for a national sales manager. Like most people, I had no idea what this industry was all about. Mm-hmm. Went down for an interview. I had gone to Boston College. It was based in Stoughton, Mass. And when I walked into the door, the owner, CEO of the company had a big statue of the Boston College Golden Eagle on his desk, and a little angel put on my shoulder and said, "I told you, Dad, your money would pay off." So I started, again, didn't know anything about the business. Back then, there was a book called The Premium Incentive Buyer's Guide. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you remember that. The size of a phone book, which again, we're dating ourselves because nobody knows what a phone book is anymore. But it actually gave you the end user's name, the categories they bought, how much they bought, and then their phone number. And I was on the premium incentive side. We had Braun, which back then was a large brand in personal care, houseware appliances. And one of the things I want to say when you asked that question was that it was the biggest change, and I think the change that's been the most fun has been the influence of retail brands. Yeah. So back then, we were a retail brand, and the incentive industry was really king back in the late 80s. I don't know if you remember, but the Motivation Show in Chicago and the Javits Show in the incentive show in New York at the Javits Center, it included the travel. And that incentive travel spend was just enormous. It really drove the industry. And then there was kind of a flip-flop in the late 80s, early 90s when that promotional distributor became very important as a bundled resource for selling promotional products. Right. But the point I was trying to make is back then, the retail brand was probably less than 5% of the total spend. And today you look at it, and conservatively, I think it's 15 to 20% plus. Wow. And growing every day. And that's where I'm excited to be part of Perry Ellis, is we have 3 great best-in-class brands in Jack Nicklaus, Callaway, and Original Penguin, where we bring something exclusive to the market as a retail brand.
Yeah, I tell you what, definitely across the industry, you're seeing more and more brands. That's I totally agree with that, and you're seeing it in every category. Sure. Yeah. So you've talked a little bit about sort of the history and where it's come, but we're at the beginning of 2020 right now. I mean, sort of, right? So what are some trends you see happening or coming in the promo industry, since you can look through your crystal ball now?
Well, one, like I said, the continued emergence of more brands in every product category. You see it with the partnerships with Gemline, with Muir and Anchor. You see it with PCNA and what they've done with their brands, the Allen Company and what they do with their brands. So everybody has to be touching retail brands in whatever category they're in. The other one that's really kind of interesting and somewhat ironic is sustainability. Yeah. Because I was at Ash City almost 10 years ago. We probably had more eco product in the market than anybody. Recycled polyester, we had bamboo, we had soy, and the market wasn't ready to buy it. Right. They said they were, but nobody bought it, and it went away. Now, all of a sudden, like most trends, it's come back, and I think the difference is you do have a younger audiences to, the millennial and the Gen Y and the generation's finest. I think they are supporting sustainability, and I think it has much more traction as we go forward. I think that's a true trend. I think it's a positive one that's going forward. So.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I actually said that after I left Vegas this year that I felt like another trend I saw was sort of promotions with a purpose. You mentioned Gemline and Mirror, how the give back piece is another one I've noticed. And I think that goes hand in hand with the sustainability piece too. And
most definitely, yeah. And we have that a little bit with Jack Nicklaus. He's incredibly involved in the Children's Miracle Network, and anything he does, basically on his licensing arrangements goes back to charitable giving. So, it's a real positive thing to see and to be part of, definitely.
Yeah. A lot of times I come back from Vegas and I always feel a responsibility to tell my clients about trends. I'm not always that excited about them, right? But this one, I was like, I can get behind this trend that I see. So that's cool. Yeah. So as the year rolls on, we've talked about, we're rolling into 2020. I know, you get into the grind. And so I'm always looking to stay inspired or get motivated. I'm always curious when I look at successful people, what inspires and motivates you?
Definitely, it's been the passion from this business from the day I walked into it. I mean, what other industries is every day completely different? What industry from your side is a distributor that you can call on anybody in any industry anywhere?
Yeah.
What industry do I have what I consider my friends and family that I've learned, met and spent time with over the last 34 years that you see more than your real family, unfortunately, sometimes. We're on the road 30 times a year. And, very few industries are sometimes your best friends, your biggest competitors.
Yeah, I totally see that. And I think, I feel like the suppliers got that first, maybe, but I'm seeing it more even on the distributor side, and I find that exciting.
I think you're seeing it definitely through vehicles like Common SKU, which I know you're real close to the Grahams. I think you've done a tremendous job. I think what you and Bill have done, Roger met with his social purpose thing. So I think distributors are realizing, you do compete, but at the same time, the more that you share best practices. And I think you're seeing that through the buying groups, whether it's a PeerNet or the partnering group or Premier, where they realize that even though they're still independent, unique distributors, they can all learn from each other in terms of how to run a better business.
Yeah. One of those, the rising water rise all boats kind of thing. Yeah.
It's funny. I was telling a story. We were at the Orlando ASI show this year, and there was another show that was going on in the Hyatt Regency there. And I'm walking out the day that their show was starting. It was all mostly men, a lot of gray and blue suits. And I turned to this guy, real tall guy who's an English guy, and I said, "What kind of show is this?" He goes, "Well, we're all rocket scientists." And I just looked at him and go, "Well, I'm going to a show that's not made up of rocket science." So, it's like I said, it's really what we do and that smile we can put on people's faces if you really put the right product in front of the right audience for the right purpose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, well, that's awesome, Howard. You've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me one question. Do you have one for me?
Well, I was curious. I'm not very product driven, but I think one of my biggest challenges in the industry, and again, it gets back to why I'm sort of excited about where we're at, where we have something with those 3 brands that's exclusive. But I think the challenge we have, in the industry a little bit is that there's a lot of cool product, but to some degree, everybody has the exact same cool product.
Right.
So did you happen to see anything that really stood out to you? Because did you do Orlando or just do Vegas this year?
Just did Vegas.
Did you happen to see anything in Vegas that really, from not just the coolness factor, but also something you could turn around and sell in terms of applications?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, and it's funny that it kind of turned on its ear a little bit. I came back, and I don't know that I'll do a great job of just rattling off a bunch of products, but I wrote a blog right after Vegas that said that I put out and sent to a lot of my clients that the trend I noticed was promotions with a purpose. So each one of I made a list of products that I came back and said these all have a give back component. And obviously you mentioned Roger Burnett and that whole Promo Cares and all those folks have kind of commandeered that. And what was interesting to me is I just made a point to bring it up to clients and say, is this something that even matters to you? Because what I find is sometimes my region is at the tail end of the snake on trends. But the feedback I got was really amazingly positive. It was, people were going, we are a mission-driven organization, so why wouldn't we support another mission-driven organization? And so, I could bring a couple, the base camp from Suida, the mirror with Gemline, any of the pieces that have a give back component. And I actually, funny story, re-upped a piece of my Sage membership, which I had not used a ton, because they sort by product that have a give back component. And so my clients are saying, yeah, we'd like to look at it that way. So I don't know if it was one specific product, but more of a overall theme.
I appreciate that answer. Yeah, the other one I want to mention there from that I always forget about, and sometimes people do, is Helping Hands out of Chicago. They do a tremendous job as far as working with different agencies to produce their products.
Yeah, that's, like I said, one of those things that sustainability, give back, those are things that I think we can all get behind and I get excited about. So, well, Howard, thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again, okay?
No, I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you down the road somewhere.
All right, buddy. That's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.